another source. So SAP is the another source, and another one is the, I'll take it as a, okay, streaming. So streaming data sources. Okay. So these are the sample data sources I have, okay, in my project. Okay, so these are the data sources which I am having currently in my project. So these sources, what it will do is, so we are going to generate these data in terms of file formats. Okay, so we will keep these files. So we'll use the files. Okay, so either if you take from SAP, Oracle, it's a table format only. Okay, but in case in SAP, we will generate some files and I'll keep it here, and some streaming data set, I'll generate one file. Okay, so these are the files, like it is in the .csv format or .parquet and .json. Okay, so based on the clients and the data floating, so this data get selected like JSON, CSV, Parquet. Okay, so all those data generations will happen. Okay, so after generating these input files, so we need one landing zone. So that landing zone will be our ADLS Gen 2. So this is where the storage account. So currently Microsoft is offering data lake Gen 2. So earlier we have a data lake Gen 1 and blob. So what is this storages? So basically these storages are Microsoft extensively offering to store all kind of your input data. Like you can store files, and you can store the image files, and you can store audio files, video files, everything you can store it in the storage account. Okay, so I'll explain those differences. What is, so now I'm saying the ADLS Gen 2 is the latest version, right? So earlier we have a blob and Gen 1. Okay, so there are various benefits which we are using, and in Gen 2 especially. So they have introduced various kind of mechanisms, especially in Gen 2, like we have a delta lake processing and delta processing, and we have a hierarchies compared to the blob storage. So we can maintain all those it's more like processor data. Okay, so they have given all the options in the data like Gen 2. I'll explain those benefits as well, why we are using Gen 2, and how it going to work. Okay, so after placing all these files, your data processing will start from the Synapse layer. Okay, so here your Synapse layer will come inside the Synapse layer. First, what will happen is we'll use the ADF. So inside the Synapse layer, we will perform the ADF also. Okay, and then I'll we have the data bricks as well. I'll tell you individually what will happen. Okay, so data bricks, and so we have a Databricks and we have a SQL. So SQL is a database which we are going to load our data. So here what is happening is, so inside this Synapse layer, these three, okay, we need to represent Power BI also, right? So it includes the Power BI. Okay, let me add it here. So here is the Power BI we have. Okay, so this entire combination, whatever here we are using, right? ADF, Databricks, SQL, Power BI. Combination of these three tools is our Synapse. Okay, so in ADF we will perform the ETL operations. So here we will do all the in this two layers. Okay, so especially for ETL or ELT. Okay, so this combination of ADF and Databricks, we are going to perform the ETL or ELT process. Okay, so after extracting these unstructured source files, we are doing the structuring and performing the transformations and finally loading these structured data into the SQL DB. Okay, so once we loaded this SQL DB, again the data should be passed on into the Power BI dashboards. Okay, so this is our final output. So this is where our data processing get shown. Okay, so in Databricks, so in Synapse level, so we have a again like programs. We can use the programs like so we have C# programming we can use, and Python we can use, and we have a Scala, and we have a PySpark. Okay, so all these languages which we can use in our notebook creations. So more transformations, everything will happen in the Databricks layer by using this coding. Okay, in ADF also we have a data flows is there, but data flows are very time consuming, and there are various disadvantages in the, I'll just represent as a data flows. Okay, you might get some confusion, but no need to worry. So I'll explain this. This is more like I'm just showing how it is happening. So in the data flows, so I'll represent data flow. Okay, so in ADF level, we have a data flow to do the transformations, especially for the transformation. But there are various disadvantages. Suppose you have a 1 TB of data in your database and you wanted to perform some database ordering, and you wanted to perform some aggregations, and obviously you need to perform aggregation. So in real time, whatever the data you are getting, you need to do the aggregation and you need to process the data like in a structured way. So to do all this structuring and aggregations, you need to use more number of activities. There is no coding here, only you can write SQL, that's it. You can write a SQL programming, that's it. You don't have any Python. That SQL also you can just write one or two command line, that's it. So to call any stored procedure, we have a stored procedure option, but that is again too lengthy, and we need more code. Okay, so and as well as we need to check the performance. See, using is one thing, and whatever we are writing the code, it should be optimized, and we need high level coding to process all this data at a time. Okay, so that 1 TB, 2 TB, obviously in real time we are having a huge number of transactions. Okay, in the data flow, it's very difficult to process all this information, and it is bit critical to developer as well. So he need to add more activities to uh, perform to structure the data. Okay, that is more developer headache. So that's why here the notebook concept introduced in Synapse. So that is a similar to like Databricks. Okay, similar to Databricks. So the concept is notebook. So in the notebook, so we can directly write this Python, SQL, PySpark, and we have SQL also. Okay, I'll add SQL as well. So you can write SQL coding. So everything you can write in the notebook level, instead of going to this data flows and applying too many activity transformations. So you can simply write a code and extract those data and make it into your structured and process the data into the final SQL DB in a structured manner. Okay. So might be if someone knows ADF, you will get to know what this data flows and all. Okay, but I'll explain those quickly on my next sessions. But no need to worry. So data flow is the one which is used for extensively for ETL transformations. It is developed for ETL, extract, transform, and load. Okay, so it's basically designed for ETL process. Okay, so data flows is extensively designed for the ETL, and we have a clusters similarly like how, so in Databricks we have a clustering concept, like we need to create a cluster to process the data. So similar we in ADF also we have a clusters and we will process the data extensively. Okay, so after doing all this data transformations, so finally we were making all this into the Power BI dashboards to represent all our whatever the yearly, monthly, quarterly, all the sales information, which I am going to represent in the dashboard level. Okay, so this is a in and out, like we have various source. I'm just taking some sample, but based on your client you are having various source. You may have so in my current project I have various sources, like might be my company having different terminology of the source, like I'm using some golden source and I am having some veritas source. So there are various source, but that is again like based on your client, how the client is getting the data, okay, or populating the data from the source system. Okay, so after that, whatever the things we are doing, this is the crucial part which we are playing as a developer. So till this part you will get the data, but after that, whatever the decision, whatever the action which performed by is the developer crucial part. Okay, so developer need to decide. So what he is going to do with the all this data. Okay, so based on the client, so he will sit with clients and they will engage, so what data they want and they will share the files, and we will sit with client and we will decide, and then we will um, process those data. Okay, so whatever their requirements again. Okay, so we will do based on our client project. So based on our client projects we will decide those in and out challenges and then process the data. But keep remember this, so alwaysly your real-time data will be like most of the them. See, 1 TB, above 1 TB, better to use this data warehousing process. See, small 100 records, 200 records, you no need to develop a data warehousing process. That is not required actually. It's not necessary. So if you are having like TBs or GBs of data, you definitely need um, a robust solution to make this data proper alignment. Okay, so so my final conclusion, what I'm giving here is, see some of the in your organization also, some of the application you will get 1,000 records also and 10,000 records per day. So these records are, we no need to create a data warehouse for that. Okay, so some transactions are every day it comes and we will delete those transactions and we will keep only 1 day or 2 day. Okay, 1 day 2 day transactions. Okay, we no need to develop a complete data warehouse. Okay, but some of the like whatever the like, so example you wanted to maintain the historic for when your organization started. Example, your organization